First, though, we've all seen them on the hillsides around Lake George. And depending on your view, they're either an eyesore or the answer for our energy-hungry planet. Wind farms have polarised the community, and a Senate committee is poised to table a crucial report examining their economic and social effects. Around 1,000 people and organisations felt strongly enough to lodge submissions, and the majority of those supported the concept. Although that seems to be the trouble. Between the idea and the reality falls the shadow, especially on some of those living close to the turbines.
They're very quiet. They're a lot quieter than what I'd heard. I'd heard people have had health problems from the noise, and I don't find them at all noisy.
They're a lot noisier than I thought they would be too.
Okay, so you notice the noise of them?
Yeah, I always thought those people were just mad who said they were noisy, but they're not. They have a point.
This week's World Wind Day was appropriately wild and woolly on the range above Lake George, but visitors to Capital Wind Farm's Open Day were undeterred.
It's great to be able to just see the renewable energy working around us.
Really, it's to give the local community and people who are prepared to come from a bit further afield to experience a wind farm up close firsthand, rather than just relying on information they might hear secondhand from other parties about how a wind farm operates.
The 67 turbines at Bungendore have been turning for nearly 2 years, producing enough renewable energy to power Sydney's desalination plant. But not everyone is convinced there's something to celebrate.
Because they're so huge, there's no way you can get away from them if you're living close by. They're coming from every angle.
Ruth Corrigan's property is next to the Capital Wind Farm, and her house is surrounded on 3 sides by the turbines.
Just consistent noise when they're going, and the wind's coming from the northwest is the worst noise for us. And it's relentless. It just gets on your nerves. And being woken at night has been the biggest issue probably, because sometimes 4 or 5 times a night you can just be woken with a big start, and it's hard to get back to sleep, and then you sort of just asleep again, and it happens again. And do you read? Sometimes I read, sometimes I get a cup of tea. But you wake up the next day going, okay, I feel terrible. I certainly think that sleep disturbance is a serious issue, really, for your health, because it can happen night after night for some days, and then maybe not for a little bit, and then again and again. And, that's something that people do when they torture people. It's not something you just want to be happening.
Whether wind turbine sound, both audible and inaudible, can harm human health is the subject of increasing attention. Former South Australian GP Sarah Laurie has interviewed 60 people across rural Australia who believe the turbines are making them sick.
There's the people themselves who are coming forward and saying, look, these symptoms started happening when the turbines started operating, and I don't get them when I'm away from home, and I don't get them when the turbines are off. The major one is the chronic severe sleep deprivation, and there's a number of different mechanisms where people say, look, either it's the audible noise that wakes me up, or more commonly it's this phenomena of waking up in the middle of the night in a panic state. And people say, look, I wake up, I don't know what's woken me, I can't hear the turbines, I can't see the turbines, but I wake up and I'm wide awake and I'm anxious, my heart's pounding.
Dr. Laurie says patients describe other symptoms such as fluctuations in blood pressure, nausea, tinnitus and migraines.
You don't get better, you don't get used to it. Everybody that I've spoken to gets worse.
The results of all of the studies that have been undertaken here have shown that noise is simply not an issue, and we're well inside compliance with Australia's noise guidelines, and they are the strictest noise regulations in the world for wind farms. Sometimes people get angry if they get unwell and want to find someone to blame it on. Yes, but we don't accept that a wind farm could be causing any of those types of symptoms.
The National Health and Medical Research Council issued a statement a year ago saying there is currently no published scientific evidence to positively link wind turbines with adverse health effects. But it says that shouldn't be taken out of context.
The context is a lack of evidence, so that statement isn't saying that there are no effects, it's saying we don't really know. And we'll await further evidence to find that out.
The council held a public forum in Canberra last week, which aired a range of views on the subject, including those of public health professor Simon Chapman.
We know that the majority of people living around wind turbines don't mind them, don't feel ill, don't experience any symptoms.
He suggests the symptoms described may be caused by social factors, from stress caused by fear or resentment of the turbines.
They weren't there when they bought in, and they're annoyed to see them come into the place. If they're not benefiting economically from them, they may feel additionally aggrieved in that, the land values that they've got maybe be affected. And it's not inconceivable that some of the people who are complaining long and loud about this may be people who are hoping to be bought out by the energy companies. I asked the question as to whether being paid to have a wind turbine on your land may in fact be an antidote to ward off these symptoms, because it doesn't seem that anyone who's being paid to have a turbine actually ever expresses any concerns about their health.
I suppose so, yes. If I rest a bit more easily at night, thinking that, well, I'm not going to go broke in the morning, I suppose that might help a bit, but it's not going to stop me getting older.
Over the hill from Ruth Corrigan's place, Brian and Marsha Osborne are paid to host part of the Capital Wind Farm on their land.
We do have towers right around us in a sort of a horseshoe, you might say, and some are quite close. There's about 5 of them which are less than 1,000 metres away. I can't hear them, not in the house. We can hear them outside a bit, but that's expected. And it's only occasionally that they become at all obtrusive.
The Osbornes say none of their extended family living on the property has experienced any ill effects.
Marsha and I both have pre-existing medical problems, but nothing whatever to do with the wind farm. We've had them for years before the wind farm. And we can't say that our health or the health of our animals has been affected at all. In fact, as far as the animals are concerned, we haven't had it ever better. But I wouldn't say it goes beyond wind farms. I still make a point of getting on well with my neighbours, even though I know that some of them have very strong feelings against what's happening.
It has divided the community in a way. We've worked really hard so that our neighbours who have them on their properties are still our friends. That's their choice, and I don't have anything to say to them about what they've chosen to do.
Both neighbours are awaiting the outcome of a federal Senate committee inquiry that's been investigating the impacts of wind farms on rural communities. It's received more than 1,000 submissions, with the majority in favour of the developments. Due to table its report in Parliament this week, the committee has again extended its deadline until next week, with suggestions there is division in the ranks. Dr Laurie hopes the report will recommend more research.
These people are in fact sick. Their doctors are confirming that they're getting sick. We need to stop. We need to do the research, and we need to work out why they're getting sick and what a safe distance is. If we're going to have this technology as part of the renewables mix, we need to make sure we're doing it safely.
And she says in the meantime, turbines shouldn't be built within 10 kilometres of people's houses.
If this was a drug, adverse clinical events are being reported, and what you do then is pull the drug from the market, have a look at what's going on, and work out what it is that's doing the damage.
That's a fairly nonsensical argument. There's absolutely nothing to suggest that there's any concern with wind turbines out to a particular distance. The idea of an arbitrary distance is not based in science. It would be a very serious impact on future development of wind farms in the country, and that would be a great shame.
I think we are knowingly putting current and future generations of rural residents at significant risk of serious health problems, and I think that's unforgivable.
You can't get answers to these questions overnight, and my concern would be that if that were to take place at the expense of holding up the development of wind power, then other questions about the benefit to the community, of course, would need to be asked.
Kate Evans was the reporter.